It's following a storm destruction of the main Greatco transmission line in Abuati, and well, the Power Minister says engineers are working around the clock to fix the problem. But at the same time, too, the President has been speaking at an expo in Accra and been saying fine things about the Electricity Company of Ghana. And if we can get the President's insights, that would be nice. The President, Patrick, the President has an insight on electricity generation. He thinks that is a risk worth taking because if no risk was taken at all, at least a risk was taken to liberalize the telecom sector. And so this is where and well, would want to watch the President now.
Change is something that many people are afraid of. At the time it was decided to deregulate, I remember P&T workers were against it. They went on strike. They said it was going to create job losses and so on and so forth. Today, the P&T is Ghana Telecom. I think Ghana Telecom employs more people than P&T ever employed. And if you add Tigo and all the other mobile companies and all the other data companies and everybody, I'm sure that the telecom and digital ICT industry employs hundreds more people than it ever did when we had just P&T. Ghana and South Africa were the first to begin the deregulation on this African continent. And change was not something people wanted to embrace. They said that telecoms was such a vital service. If you deregulated and let the private sector come in, the CIA could plant things and listen to conversations. And I mean, those were some of the chimeras that were, pulled out of the box because we were going to privatize, allow private participation. Today, I can see a similar development. We have a very inefficient downstream distribution system on the electricity and power front. We're trying to do reforms. And those chimeras are being drawn out. Electricity is so important, that it must be monopolized by the state. Why are you allowing private sector in? But we've had this system for years. It's not working. If it's not working, you fix it. And you fix it by taking risks. It's a risk we took when we deregulated telecommunications. Nobody knew it would turn out like this. But look at us many years on. And so if you're not willing to take risks, then the world does not make progress. The world makes progress based on risks. And so would have to, prepare our minds for a change when it becomes necessary. And once the deregulation started, the technology started moving at a breakneck speed. And it was necessary to set up the NCA to regulate the sector. But how do you make regulation when every day some new invention is coming up that you did not make provision for? And so that's what was happening. Pagers came up. I don't know if you guys remember the days of pagers, where they sent little messages. If you were a doctor, you carried your pager on your belt, and then they called you and said there's an emergency, and then you had to rush back. And it was also a status symbol. You hung your pager here, and it showed that you had arrived.
Okay, so the President talking about how it's a risk bringing changes, some private participation in energy provision, and then particularly the subject of contention, the ECG, as to whether it's important to have structure made up of private consortiums, etc., concessionaires. But the whole argument is trying to fix what is right. But people nationalistically will say we could have done better than we could have done it ourselves.
Yeah, you see, I think I agree with the President that we have a lot of inefficiencies in our power sector. More so because you have one entity like ECG who are solely in charge of what? Distribution of power. Mm-hmm. The whole country. Mm-hmm. So there's a problem here. You look at other jurisdictions. Let's take the United Kingdom, for instance. When you come to London, they've got the Thames Valley Electricity Corporation. You go the Midlands, they've got the Midland electricity. You go up north, Manchester, they've got the Northern. And so management of power becomes very, very easy. And these are private, the electricity is produced at a central point. But these various are private distributors. And so they are able to monitor within a certain enclave and are able to go and do what? Collect the...
So your point is they ensure efficiency.
Efficiency. So when it's big enough, it's very difficult for us to really manage it. Look, a lot of people do illegal wiring, illegal connection, those kind of things. Because it's only ECG who has to take charge of all these things. If you go to a private, if it's been broken down into various segments, like Accra, you take Accra and its environs, and there's ECG solely to take care of Accra activities. Right? They'll have enough capacity, they'll have enough people to employ to be looking at those. So sometimes let us look at the good side of the proposal. We all have this should be a national. I hate us when we pigeonhole ourselves into partisan politics, when things that we ourselves have to look at it holistically and see how best can we bring these things to a state that by everybody, and then the cost will come down. All this infighting with workers, all these things, we have to move on in life in this country. More than often we don't do, and we always, like you said, we stick to the old ways, and the old ways are not taking us anywhere.
Nana, the thing I do know though, the workers fighting is not politics. We're talking about an economy. We're also talking about consumers. We're talking about private sector coming in, ultimately affecting pricing and affecting ultimately the purchasing ability of the consumer. And that is the fear many people do have. It's really not politics.
It's not politics. But President says something, I wrote it down. We need to prepare our minds on change when it becomes necessary. Well, change is very necessary today to change.
It's inevitable all around the world.
Exactly. Very necessary today to change Mahama. You know why?
Here we go.
The president is making it very difficult for some of us to move along with him.
Why?
Very difficult.
Why?
May Day last year, myjoyonline.com, government won't privatize ECG.
But it's not privatizing, they are privatizing management.
Look at what John Mahama is saying. Moves to privatize ECG. Moves to privatize ECG.
There must be some
just last year, we were talking about government won't privatize ECG. How do we get along with our president? Today,
how about this? The private sector rather participating in the management of ECG.
It is privatization. A form of that privatization is the concessionaire that they are talking about. It's a form of privatization. We should be told the truth as it is. It's a form of privatization. Concessionaire.
And that's a worry for you?
It's not a worry for me.
Okay.
If he wants Ghanaians to go along with him, not that today he says this and tomorrow he changes it, that becomes a worry to most of us. We have had problems with liability of power supply. If we get some support in the form of management come in to be able to improve the reliability. What I'm against is always thinking that we will not get the local people to do something better in Ghana, and always let's go for people from outside. That is where my worry is. But if you want to bring some people who will be able to inject some sort of finance and other areas to support this project, so that when I go home today, we have power, so that we wouldn't revisit almost 4-year doomsday. Who wouldn't be happy? Just yesterday, so many parts Central Western region, no power. In fact, Abuazi itself, where the thermal plant is, I had a call when I was just entering here. From yesterday, 12:15 p.m., no power. I will go for it if that will improve the reliability of the power supply in Ghana. But then we should know who and who are coming in. Is it always the case that Ghanaians, cannot do anything better? Is that the case?
done better with the current status quo?
We should. And you see some of the...
I asked you a question. Do you think, it's not what you think should be the ideal. Do you think we could have?
You see, if the government owes ECG itself over $1 billion, how are they going to get a resource? If you think that government owes a foreign company, I mean, you remember NGAS? They threatened us. Hardly we went to pay some, we still owe them though. But if it comes to Ghana, whether you pay or don't pay, they will supply. Who is a managing director of ECG who will just say that Ridge area or Flax House area just cut off because they owe? The managing director, tomorrow you are gone. Tomorrow. Who have that, I was going to use a word, but...
Who has that guts?
Yeah, you see?
That's correct. You see, but I was going to use balls. But you're right.
Who has the balls?
Yeah,
I mean, you feel free and use it.
Yeah, fine.
Okay, let me use it for you. Who has the balls? Because somebody's appointed.
Exactly.
We know the way they appoint.
Tomorrow, the person is gone. So the government itself should be doing things right. Look, these are what we have done to the extent that today ECG workers have become abonsam. They have become evil because the government is failing to take responsibility of the abnormal tariffs that we are paying. Who sets tariffs in Ghana? PURC, yes. But does PURC sit down and say that within a year, like last year, electricity tariffs went up 3 times on the 1st of April, 2.63%. July 1st, 51.73%. December 14th, 59.2%. That's what we are using today. And then in addition, government comes with Energy Sector Levies Act of 2015, Act 899. Again with taxes, 5% public lighting levy, under 5% National Education Scheme levy, and then comes with service.
Your point is what?
My point is that government should take responsibility that, look, I'm going toward this direction. Ghanaians, follow me, we will follow. Not that you come last year to say we privatize ECG. Today you come and say you are privatizing ECG. Not that you yourself are causing this untold hardships on Ghanaians as far as tariffs are concerned.
But the ultimate aim,
it's wrong.
Mr. Adekoka, is to make sure that the ECG, with all, for example, I'm complaining, he's also complaining, is to ensure that we have efficient power distribution.
Exactly.
And then also a company that runs the way it should.
No, I agree perfectly well with. But sometimes when I see parliamentarians complaining about things that they themselves sat in parliament and passed.
No, we know it's a majority and minority issue.
No, please,
you know it.
Please. You see, when I say in other jurisdiction, right?
Are you running away from the truth?
I expected him to stand up in parliament and make a case that, as for me,
he's in the minority.
No.
We do.
And then when you come to talk,
we do.
Your name will appear
in the answer.
Your name will appear, and then we know Atu Atta was vehemently against the increment. But when Dr. Atu Atta cannot come and show me his voting,
do you know
how he voted?
Do you have today's delegate?
Oh, please.
Do you have today's delegate?
Yes, I do.
Can I have a copy? I want to show you something. Dr. Atta, just yesterday.
When I can't have your voting, I can't see how you voted. You can't come and tell me something different. It is because of the inefficiencies. It's because, you see, when something is very big, it's very difficult for you to handle. Along the line, there are certain things that you will not see. That is why I'm for a regime whereby these things are broken down. Ghanaians, of course, must be able to manage them. If it's possible, if I know we can find Ghanaians, to ask them to come and partake in this process. I believe so. We made the mistake of giving Vodafone to foreigners, and today they are carrying all the money away. We should learn from that. Some of these things, we always have to learn from the steps that we take where we are supposed to go, and then make amends. If we have to break up the ECG, the question is, have we got Ghanaians who will be able and capable to manage it? Let us first look at those areas and see how we can get our own Ghanaian businessmen to handle it. Because the whole idea is that the thing must be efficient, but when it's efficient, then the cost that we are bearing will come down.
Do you think ultimately, after we go through this very phase of foreign private sector concessionaires coming in, we could have a Ghanaian consortium coming to handle it one day?
Well, I believe from the onset, we should be able to encourage our people to do that. We should.
Well, now we've not done that. I'm saying that is it possible that one day we could have a Ghanaian consortium?
I'll give you an example. When we tried to bring the South Africans come and do the water, to come and handle water.
I think they were Norwegians, I believe.
Norwegians. They came. I mean,
Aqua Vita.
They were not able to do it. Eventually, who are managing.
That's why there are fears all over.
No, that's what I'm saying.
That they will come and
exactly. That's why
and mash up.
That's why I believe that at least me and you and Doctor here, if you put our heads together and I give you a concession, I think we will be able to run it. And that is what we should try and encourage.
Can we?
We can. We can put our
locally. Can we?
We can.
I think we can.
Yes,
we are capable of doing it.
But will we be giving?
I'm saying that is where we should situate what the president is saying. That Mr. President, even though we agree with what you are saying, but let us also see how best can we empower our fellow Ghanaians to be able to do their job. This is what we should be talking about.
Okay, my guest, I wanted us to get that a member of parliament for Bekwai asking the Attorney General to prosecute officials of Photorex or officials of the DVLA for overpaying some monies to Photorex as far as that very concern. But apparently, there are some people within the NDC who are not happy with the president. They decided to defect and form their own party. There's one Carl Wilson who has formed a new political movement called Move Ghana. And the whole objective is to unseat the president. You should be worried. I know you're here bubbling all about how good the president has been managing the country. But apparently your own people are not too happy.
Carl Wilson, you see, when I see people, he was the former chairman of the Confiscated Vehicles Committee. Where did he end up? Why
you want to run him down now?
Oh, I'm not running. I'm asking a question.
He was dismissed.
Exactly. For what reason was he dismissed? I mean, this is a joke of the year.
To form a political party.
It's a joke of the year. You see, people
are not worried at all as NDC.
Attention seekers.
You are not worried as
NDC. He's
NDC.
an attention seeker. And he's an attention seeker. I know him very well. These are people who have been forgotten on the sidelines and they want to be heard. He should go ahead and form a party. He should go ahead and form a party. And now count the number of people who will follow him. Unless he has got cars cars to give them. He has got some of the confiscated cars sitting somewhere.
That's almost like somebody will say complacency.
Well, I'm not too sure that is a joke. I don't go as a party. But then.
Ekwadoko is a serious person.
Oh, he's a serious person.
He's a serious person.
I my respect. Okay, but I seriously want to talk about the
Move Ghana.
The Move Ghana issue. You talk about prosecute.
The Photorex.
You see.
Member of Parliament for Bekwai, Joe Osewusu, a former chief executive of DVLA.
I agree with Honorable Joe Osewusu, particularly this DVLA issue coming from him as a former DVLA boss. The contract was awarded during his tenure. You come, and because today everybody indulges in one corrupt practice or other, and nothing. Him.
Who said that?
What happened to Smarties? You are in Ghana. Look, my brother attended Addis Adel. He knows Ankafu prisons in my constituency. If somebody goes to steal even a cat, and you are caught in the act, they don't even take the cat from you straight away to police station. You end up in Ankafu.
When the cat is free roaming.
When it comes to our part of, when it comes to these areas involving big guys, big women, that one pay back and then remain free. So DVLA boss also decided to go in that spree. Things are happening. Why don't I also join? It's a booty. And look at where we've landed.
So that's why you
I
also
am with Honorable Joe Osewusu.
that it should lead to some prosecution.
Exactly.
And the chief, the doctor there, the chief executive has, you see.
He calls it.
I think if you have, they should take him to court and let him defend himself.
Well, that'll be our discussions for this morning. We've had in the studio Dr. Nana Atuatha, Member of Parliament for KEEA.
We've given
him a
sugar factory. He should be grateful to us.
It's in his constituency that we have the controversial sugar factory, the now controversial sugar factory. And thanks for joining me, Nana.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure having you, and the discussions have been great. And also, chairman for the NDC Greater Accra region is Joseph Nia Dekoka. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much.
All right, we're taking a break. When we come back, we'll have a lot more for you.
Nana.
Good morning.